I'll do Germany. So I think Germany, the one benefit is the engineering in Germany, right? There's a lot of heavy engineering. People are extremely thorough, so stuff gets done pretty well, and detail-oriented, meaning that really.
Guys in the back.
So I said it's engineering for Germany, it's thoroughness, and it's detail orientation are the positives. The negatives is an extremely risk-averse culture, extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? They like to argue with everything, which most people probably don't know about Germans, but there's a tendency to argue against stuff as opposed to supporting it. And third drawback is all the bureaucratic regulatory shit. It's a nightmare.
I can only vouch for that German assessment. I'm married to a German who gives me a lot of negative feedback on my startup. Yeah. No, the last one, he's been mildly positive. That's why I'm doing it. So, I come from project. Yeah, we'll see how that turns. I've come from Russia. So on Russian startups, what we have in terms of challenges is the big local market. So nobody really want to do much global stuff. With Russian passport, you can travel much. So yeah, that's another one. You just have the impediments that comes with visas, relocation, and the third one, the language is not taught or practiced. So people don't speak very good English. Like when I went to Switzerland, my first foreign country, I struggled a lot for half a year at least. Speak German, English, I thought I knew the languages, I didn't. On the positive side, a lot of Russian entrepreneurs, they experienced businessmen. Like everybody has a business, they have some sort of brick and mortar stuff, they have cash from, so it's a very good position to be in. Like I talked to a startup that is kind of just launched in Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine, Russia has some similarities. They already invested like $500,000 in it. And they just coming out to talk to international investors and press, and we just raise money locally, no problem. And what else on the positive side? I don't know. Local market. You start locally, improve it, you go globally. I guess it can be considered advantage and disadvantage. Yeah. Like the largest European internet audience, so that's pretty good. But it's also corrupt. You don't want to go global.
So Chris, I have 3 passports. Which country am I supposed to talk? I can talk about planes. We don't have Wi-Fi in planes, so that sucks. I mean, that's one thing. No, I cannot compare the 3. First of all, you asked the question, is there enough talent in Europe to fill all these accelerators? I'm going to reverse the thing, and I'm going to say it's not anti-US. But I think there's a lot of people think there's not enough talent in Europe, as if it was like the US was better. I think that's bullshit. There's no better talent in the US, there's better market conditions in the US. It's not exactly the same thing. You speak English already. One example, I've been dealing with one startup, we're expanding internationally, and the guys were asking me, oh, that country, yeah, Indonesia, that's India. Yeah, right, okay. So this is, and I'm not saying all Americans are like that, this is another point, but meaning it's all about market conditions. Since I talked about Japan this morning, the thing that sucks, they don't speak enough English. But the thing that's good, they speak actually Japanese. The thing that sucks is that the country, they look inwardly, it's exactly what you said, because you have a big enough country with a very high average revenue per user. But the thing that's great is that actually they have that big country, so they just don't care. And exactly what happens in the US. They have products that actually have big enough market with a big enough revenue not to care about the rest. And then if it works, and often it works in the rest of the world, it just does. And the final point is that I cannot play with the positive and negative on that one, is that it's very, very hard to be an entrepreneur. Everywhere around the world I've been to many, many places, it's very hard to be. But I'd say in Japan it's even harder because you're an outlier, your families would not accept it, you won't find a wife if you're a guy because everyone wants, the opposite works as well. They want you to work at the biggest, fattest company ever. as I told this morning, when you introduce yourself in Japan, you don't say, I'm Paul Papadimitriou and I work at this company. You go the other way around. You start with the company you work at. So if the company you work at is not one of the big cats, then of course people look at you and say, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to conform with the norm. But the good thing is that this has changed in the past 5 years because Japanese are very obsessive hackers. And obsessive hackers with the right tools, which started obviously with the iPhone, having the ability to develop without being in a big company, has changed the landscape a lot. But basically, to be really honest, the types of good thing, positive aspects and negative aspects that's here on the walls are everywhere the same. It's the market conditions that then makes the difference, not the people themselves. I come here, it's the third time. I've been to, I'm an advisor for many startups in Southeast Asia, obviously in Japan, a few in the US. Honestly, they all have the same issues. It's just the market conditions that are not the same. So, talent, it's everywhere. A lack of talent is everywhere too. There's a lot of, I think you said that, there's freaking way too many advisors in this world right now. Everybody wants to be an advisor, like everybody's an advisor, like all McKinsey people are advisors.
Aren't you an advisor?
I'm McKinsey.
I am. No, I am. Mea culpa. I am one as well. And everybody's an advisor. Everybody's an investor. Everybody wants to do it because it's hip. It's trendy, which is great. But it also reminds me of what happened in 1999, 2000. I was there, and I remember what happened in the end. So we should be a bit more careful when we choose, especially because we have 18 years old in front of us. Who's just gonna trust? I'm 36. They're gonna trust a guy like 36. You know so much. You know, it's bullshit. They don't know anything. But they're gonna trust us, and I'm gonna call myself an advisor, and they're gonna listen to me, whatever bullshit I say. So we have to be very careful. Sorry, I talked too much.
You come directly from Silicon Valley, so you can comment on US market conditions.
Yes.
There are two McKinsey offices, one in San Francisco, one in Palo Alto. Bridget is running global entrepreneurship program. Please introduce yourself shortly.
Yeah.
There's other speakers already on the stage.
All right. Whoa. I'm Bridget. I work at Google. I manage global entrepreneurship efforts. So I'm all of your managers. Just kidding. And I come straight from Silicon Valley.
Oh, basis to us.
Yeah. I actually don't even want to talk about the positives because I'm so tired of hearing people saying I'm replicating Silicon Valley in XX country or like Silicon Valley comes to Argentina. Like, get over it, you know, create your own thing.
Don't
It's
think about
actually
Silicon Valley
better.
coming to us. Tell how you perceive European startups coming to Silicon Valley from different
Oh, I meet them
geographies,
all the
cultures.
time in the bars.
What are these?
So, these are the negative things.
Google gets around.
Hey! So I'm going to give you 4 negatives about the Silicon Valley, okay? Because everyone's always touting positives. So first, they suck at building technology for the rest of the world. So I've lived in 5 countries. I lived in Ghana for 2 years. I lived in Southeast Asia and Latin America. And I fought companies like Google the whole time, like, please, like, build better products for us. Because my phone does not, like, it doesn't go that fast. My data sucks. I mean, there's so many things that big companies in the Silicon Valley don't do well, and we do not even produce startups that build technologies well for the rest of the world. Okay, so number 1. I got 4. I couldn't come up with 6 because I was trying to come up with 6, but I can do this. There's a lot of distractions. I see what I call like Silicon Valley startup tourism. That's what most people come there for. They're like, oh my goodness, I think I can go to something where there's Paul Graham and like David Clare. Oh my goodness, I want his t-shirt. Like, they're so distracted, and they're distracted by, there's a conference every 5 minutes, and there's like people tweeting like too much noise. So I find a lot of startups come there thinking they're going to make it big, and they're just too distracted to get anything done. It's expensive. Come try to pay my rent for a little while. See how that works out. Oh, yeah, well.
Said the Googler.
Says the ex-Googler. I'm actually getting them up, but it's fine. Okay, and then I think too, they come and they're too focused on being Facebook, and they're too focused on being Google, and they're sitting in this sea of like all these big tech companies, and they're like, unless I become that, I'm not successful. And they're so obsessed with becoming these big, huge companies, and they don't actually think about the products that they're building and the users that they're serving. And you forget that big companies like Google became big because they focused on users. And I find so many people come, like so many startups come and they're distracted by the money, they're distracted by the Facebooks and all these like success stories. And in 10 minutes, if they haven't made it to that level, they're super disappointed. You gotta get over it. The last one is talent is really expensive. Like, if I make way less than Google engineers, all right? I found that out on some website very recently that compared salaries, and I was like, shit. So I will say this, talent is really expensive. Like, you can find good engineers other places. Engineers in the Valley will cost you your children, your car, maybe your future children, maybe your grandkids. Like, they're very expensive. So if you're a startup and you're trying to bootstrap or build a product, you might be better off somewhere else because it's important that you sit with your team. Good things about the Silicon Valley, I'm there sometimes. I'll buy you a beer. You can write me, my email is Bridget@Google. We'll find some bar where we can all be distracted. So, but yeah, that's mine.
Wow. I can't even follow that up, except that I can talk about friends, which is always fun. So, just in case you don't think you're making enough cash at Google, I think you could go on a tour of Europe and just talk about why Silicon Valley sucks, and you'll become an instant millionaire.
Every Greece charges $60,000 plus a copy of each book for every participant. So there is money to be made.
Career change. Okay, so just one follow-up on the talent thing, because that's me, that's what I do, and people keep pointing at me and
He's talented.
talking to me about
I haven't
talent.
noticed. He's very talented.
Thank you.
Talent for
Yep. So talented.
Thank you. But no, but seriously, it's not that there's not an abundance of talent anywhere, because people in Europe are very talented. Please don't get me wrong. There are brilliant technical minds and business minds in Europe. That's not at all what I'm saying, and I hope that no one's misinterpreted it, because the fact that what I want to say, and why I asked John the question about accelerators, is that I don't think the mentality is there. And I talked about it this morning in terms of education. I don't think the mentality is there. So it has nothing to do with the talent, and that's where I think the US has an advantage. Okay, but I won't talk about the US, I'll talk about France. And you said I have to say something positive? Yeah.
It's got good wine.
We have really good food, we have really good wine, good cheese, and hot women. But besides that, there's one thing that's positive in France, although it's abused to some extent, and it's called unemployment. The French unemployment plan is actually extremely interesting for entrepreneurs, because you can figure out a way to get fired, in a sense, from your job, and then go to the unemployment office and basically bootstrap your startup for almost 2 years. And it's something that we have that, well, I've used it, and many others have, and that's not a bad thing. I think there's a better way to do it. Lars, the guy who founded Hack Forward, he sent me a message saying, tell me best practices in France about startups, because I'm going to meet with the President Merkel, and I just laughed. I said, honestly, I don't know. And Bridget said she was going to help me, and she didn't. Seriously, the thing that really bothers me in France, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, it's the education system. It drives me crazy. If you want to foster this, you've got to build self-confidence and self-esteem in children, and bring them up in a way that they're going to go out and do something on their own. So that bothers me. The second thing that bothers me is what I call entrepreneurial fever. I think that over the past 3 years, it's phenomenal that we've seen an increase in activity in entrepreneurship and startups in Europe. What I don't like is the fact that there are many people that think it's cool, that think it's fun. And besides the fact that it is cool and it is fun, it's fucking hard. Okay? And I'm sick of I don't like talking to people who are saying, you guys work too much in the US, Americans work too hard, you don't take vacation, whatever. Fuck that. If you want to do a startup, you're working 24/7. If you can't handle it, don't do it. And I'm sorry that I'm a little bit harsh about it, but that's what I think. That's how I made it. And you know, that's how the people that have done things successfully, they worked really hard. They were super passionate about it. Sorry to overuse the word, but you know, they loved what they do, and that's what they do. So I'd like to see more of that in France. People that are really, really motivated for the right reasons to build something cool.
Just introducing Alex shortly. Alex started Tetuan Valley in Madrid, some kind of startup school, startup accelerator.
Yeah, I was. Few people actually know this. John and I were actually part of the founding team of Startup with Europe.
I wasn't.
You wasn't. You were expelled.
I was
For your big mouth. No, so I mean, you can say a lot of good things about Spain. A lot of bad things about Spain. I would rather focus on Spain is a very social country. They have very, very good people that can do social. And this is something that I've started seeing, especially when you travel to Eastern Europe, how important this is. And how we kind of overlook this in Spain when it comes to, you know, for us it's normal to go out and talk to people and say stupid things and go partying. And you don't really value that. For you that's stupid, like that's like something you shouldn't care about. But what happens is when you go to Eastern European countries, you realize that that same ability is extremely important when it comes to marketing your stuff. And so in that sense, I think a lot of Spanish are extremely good at that. In the same way, you know, that same social circle allow us to kind of project a lot of the things that are going on in Spain. It's funny to see how having the issues we have, the structural issues we have in Spain, we have a massive projection. Like Spain is one of the top chat places, it's one of the top Facebook countries. It's unbelievable that Spain has the second largest penetration of smartphones in the world after the UK. And one of the reasons is because people love to use this shit to message people, to text people, to chat with people. You know, so in that sense, I think Spain has a lot of good things when it comes to, specifically to social, to partying, to relating to other people. Bad things, I could be here like all the afternoon.
One question. We all saw the protest of young people in Spain in Plaza del Sol.
Yeah, the indignados.
You are native speakers of Spanish language, which is the most spoken language in the world.
Yeah.
So basically, those young people who come up with the startups actually targeting the largest single language population in the world.
No, here.
Why are they protesting?
No, here I'll just comment on something. I think it's a very big misconception. Having the same language doesn't mean that you share the same culture. Okay? Speaking Spanish is great, and you can go and travel and have holiday in South America. But trust me, the culture in Mexico, the culture in Argentina or in Chile has nothing to do with Spain. And so it's actually, Spaniards are way closer to French people or to Italians than they are to people in Argentina. So in some concepts, in some specific startups, it makes sense to go to South America. In many others, it doesn't make any sense. It's actually way more expensive to do that. So, I mean, in the negative part, I think we share a lot between France and Spain. It's the same failure mentality. Spain is a very, very conservative country. That means that failure is really bad. You have massive pressures in society to go and do corporation stuff. I've been doing startups for like 7 years now, and my parents are still anxious every time they talk to me. They say like, do you have enough money to pay the rent? No, it's hard. I mean, you have to have really big balls to actually make it in Spain, you know. And I think it's really hard, and that kind of detracts from everything. Fuck it. I'm done with you.
So, I think that topic which actually popped up in several presentations before and during this panel is the accelerated thing. So the comment I have is, if we look at accelerators as the universities of entrepreneurship, then we realize that there are universities, usually in the vicinity. We don't have to travel to Stanford in order to get the proper courses in management. Maybe the courses in Warsaw or Berlin or London, actually in London they're quite good, but maybe they're not as good as at Stanford, but they're still okay. So from that perspective, should we actually agree with John and aim at having the accelerator like 20 miles per hour? The other cut to that is that when Y Combinator started, and actually the amount of money offered is still the same. They offered up to $20,000. Yes, so right now there is a convertible note by DST upon graduation of the program. But still, if you are entering the program for living in California for 3 months, you have up to $20,000. In most places in Europe, people tell you that they're expecting much more, especially here because of the abundance of EU funds, which offer up to 200,000 euros even for the idea. People show up at the door and tell, I have this idea and I expect to be funded with 200,000 euros. So what do you think about the differences in the funding levels, and should we aim at having accelerator next door?
This kind of is not answering your question, but it's actually an interesting thought when you talk about entrepreneurship. And I was profoundly, I completely disagree with the notional idea of being able to teach entrepreneurship up until about 2 years ago. And somebody sat me down and talked about art school. I basically explained that actually at art school, you don't teach art, but you support artists and actually teach them new approaches and get them better at being artists. So giving them technical support around their latent talent. So actually from that just very short conversation, I suddenly actually appreciated that entrepreneurs do need support and actually do need technical support. I'm still in the place which is it born or is it taught? But for those people who show any interest in being entrepreneurial, I think any support culture or support structure around it is a valuable thing to have. As for money, from a selfish point of view, I actually quite like having very little in the system because it helps to filter for me, my teams. So it shows for people who want to go and get money, they can go and get money from somewhere else. From my perspective, I offer £15,000, whether it's in Cambridge or it's London, and I don't intend to change that. And it will actually help to filter out people who really genuinely want to do whatever I do. So I think that's the same for Y Combinator being the same, which is they keep the money down because they're trying to attract people who want to do the program's sake, rather than be chasing the money itself.
I think I'm just going to answer my own question, because everyone keeps talking about Y Combinator, and this isn't to be provocative to John, because he mentioned it quite often, or Y Combinator was mentioned here. I think one of the improper approaches to looking at entrepreneurs, innovation, and companies is everyone's right now taking Y Combinator as an example of, hey, look what Paul has done. You know what? Paul was in the Valley for years. Paul was in the scene. Paul was actually, I guess, a pretty cool guy, so people liked him and actually remained friends with him. And I guess he was somewhat charismatic, so he was able to attract people to his model. And I think a lot of stars aligned for Paul Graham when he launched Y Combinator. I think there was a hole in the market for what he did, so I don't think he actually created something that's so amazing. He just actually filled a hole. Unfortunately, a lot of people are copying it, and so is there too many accelerators or incubators or whatever you want to call it? I think they're just launching things to copy as opposed to filling a hole or a gap in their market. So I really hate not hate's the wrong word, I think it misleads when you have this constant discussion of the Valley, and I'm glad someone from the Valley actually finally said, fuck the Valley, there's a lot of drawbacks to it. I love it for what it is, but it's, again, people in the Valley, my sister lives in the Valley, and she complains about the rent all the time. and she has enough money to pay it. So the same argument to back to the Google thing, but.
I think she doesn't have the money.
But so I don't know if I'm answering any of the questions that Chris just said, but I think one of the I know it's okay, but I have to make this comment that we're comparing apples and oranges, and I really will make the point of this Y Combinator comment. And in regions as well, we're comparing regions, we're comparing accelerators, VCs, everything. It really doesn't matter. I think the people who are good will make it happen where they are. Sure, there's like difficulties in Poland and in Germany and in Silicon Valley and everywhere, but I think the people that actually end up doing stuff all tend to be very similar in the fact that they're scrappy and they just get stuff done. They make it happen. They have different hurdles, but they get past them. And I don't know. I'm kind of tired of this discussion, to be really honest. And I'm gonna stop doing panels that compare regions. Because it really doesn't have anything to do with the regions, and it also doesn't have anything to do with the accelerator. I commented on his thing about.
For some reason, people are moving from Warsaw to Berlin right now.
Yeah, but you know what? Because Berlin's hot right now. So if you're young and single and you're a founder, you want to go get laid in Berlin and it's cheap. Or well,
Destination for Brits.
it's fine. It's the way it is. I mean, Krakow can make itself sexy for young Polish entrepreneurs to come here. Krakow's going to be the place. I mean, it's just Berlin right now. In 10 years, it's going to be another flavor of the month. I mean, I really don't think that this is something that's just going to kind of like establish itself. And all right, Berlin's going to be the place, and it's going to be like the valley. It shouldn't be like the valley. Right? The valley's the valley because of so many different things that happened there over the last 50 years. Berlin is Berlin because of so many things that happened there. You know why people were going to Berlin initially? It's for the raves. Like literally, it was the creative scene. It was the artists. They were going to Berlin. This is like why Soho in New York. Yeah, Love Parade. And it's the same. I mean, it would be at Krakow or wherever. I mean, Munich was like the hotbed when I moved to Europe in the 90s. Like, and when I got to BC, I was in Munich 3 days a week. Munich is dead. I mean, it's like no one goes to Munich unless you ski, right? I mean, even if you ski, you don't go there because there's no snow. So I'm talking way too much, but I want to still get off this conversation.
Do you guys remember? Any of you remember the 99, 2000? It was like I was. Yeah. Any? There was this guys going through the startup conferences at the time, and they would offer you the agent services to raise funding. And what they were selling is the network. They say, "Oh, we know all the VCs. You pay us $5,000 a month plus commission, and we'll raise you funding." And yeah, there's like so many.
I think that Blackbox is doing.
They're still doing that.
Plus the mansion.
They should change their business model. But I think that was the 1.0 of accelerators, because what accelerators are doing is not necessarily teaching. Teaching is a good part, but teaching you can get online. There is an online MBA course that they'll teach you entrepreneurship as well. I think what they offer you is a network. And while those guys and previous bubble, they did it differently, and they didn't offer you as much benefit because they were one-man bands without a brand. Now we have SeedCamp, we have Y Combinator, we have Hack Forward, we have Springboard. Mentioned everybody? Yeah, oh! Sorry, but I haven't heard news from you for a while.
There is a reason for that.
Okay. That's a different way to brand your network connections. That's what SeedCamp is doing. That's what Hack Forward is. Like, seriously, I am a referrer for Hack Forward. And I went to 2 events, and it's crazy. The type of people we meet there, it's like, you want to pitch to VC, pitch to VC. You want a connection? Lars Hendricks will personally offer you the connection to the right person you need to talk to. That would be the best person for you to talk to. And that is sort of thing you do to with accelerators. So actually it doesn't matter where the accelerator is. Educational, you get educational value out of it anyway. You know, we know the basics of what to do to run the company. It's just the implementation that's a difficult thing. The network is the hard one because you have to spend time to build a network, or you can rely on the guys from the accelerator to deliver you all the right contacts on a silver plate. And they also act as a filter for those VCs and CEOs of your target buyers or partners. They've done the screening, they put a stamp of approval on you, you go and talk to them. It's a very easy process. So I think that's what the value of accelerator really is. I probably was a little too serious on the subject, but honest opinion.
We can go on for a long, long time. So
Make up
I don't care about
Greece is playing.
I don't care about the game anymore because they're already losing 2-0 Greece. I'm not kidding. 6 minutes 2-0. So I'm not gonna watch the game. I'm just gonna drink. So I'm not gonna bore you with my comments on accelerators. I just think there's a bubble of accelerators. We got a little bit. There's not such a thing as a big bubble. Is just a fragmental thing. But what I mean by bubble, it means that we're reaching a point where there will be a lot of it will disappear in the next year. As for me, there will be a crunch in the early stage seed funding in the next 6 months. So part of the question will resolve itself. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think.
Do we want to move on to a different question?
Make one up.
Anyone in the audience have a question?
Ask your own question.
No, I know what I know.
Let us
Do you want to ask me a question? Anyone in the audience have a question?
We'll move to
This
Q&A.
guy's going to take a shot.
We'll move to Q&A very soon.
Yeah, do you guys want to?
More people on the panel than the
Because
audience.
David disagreed with some.
No, all I have to say is this, okay?
Just have one thing to say. One thing.
Seriously.
No, it's gonna be really quick because there's a lot of Latin people around here and they talk a lot.
That's what was that for?
Okay. Anyway, sorry guys. All I want to say is that accelerators serve a purpose, and they serve different purposes for different people. Okay, so if you want to join an accelerator, or if you're interested in an accelerator, it's your responsibility to search out what they offer. Okay, because everybody offers something different. I think what Natasha said about Hack Forward is spot on. We offer a network. I think it's our #1 benefit. We offer a phenomenal network that we can push you towards for whatever you need. Okay? And other people offer different things. Okay? Shorter programs, faster acceleration, more hands-on, more mentors. I don't know. So look at them and say, this is what our team needs, and go for it.
I'm talking. Actually, there's one thing. You know what? We all talk about accelerators. It's okay if you end up in an accelerator that fails, if it's bullshit. You will learn a lesson anyway, even if it's bad. And I've had startups that have come out of really shitty accelerators that are made by dumb people. They still learn a lesson. They still learn a lesson. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, because when you're 18, you think like 6 months is the end of the world. No, I've been there, done that. So it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay in the end.
Okay, so there's this whole idea around like if you fail, it's a good lesson. It is. It's like breaking your foot. You're probably not going to break your foot the same way. But to be honest, like there's also a lot of data behind proving that people who are successful are the ones who are most likely going to be successful again. So if you fail a lot of times, you might want to join a company. And I'm actually serious. Like people have this whole notion like, oh, you failed 30 times, buddy, that's awesome. It's not. You probably are a great employee. Go do that. I'm sorry, go do it. No, but
Or you're just out of luck.
yeah, actually, Google Ventures has published a lot of information about this lately, like data that we like have shown. No, we invest in successful entrepreneurs, and it's so funny because people always say, oh, the team is what matters the most. How often do you guys put your money in a bunch of failures, like who have failed over and over and over again? Like, go to your mother, she'll give you $5 for lunch. Like, you need to think about this in the future. You need to start to think about surrounding yourself with other people who are successful, which is a good point of an accelerator. Get around other people who know how to do it. The reason you have mentors who have been successful is because they've been successful. If you have a bunch of mentors who have failed a bunch of times, they're gonna tell you how to lose money. So just think about this, like, I know this is a very popular mantra, but I think it also needs to be like squelched with a bit of reality. beer.
Some shots for the lady, please. Some shots for the lady.
Get the beer.
Me too.
So,
Whoever's nearest the bar, can you hook us up? Come on. I'm looking at you. That's Chris.
so the thing is, I have to agree. I mean, actually, I have to agree with John in the terms of that who gives a shit, and kind of connecting with what Paul said. It's like, who gives a shit? I mean, if you go to an accelerator and you fail, okay, you fail. You know, that's part of the game. The thing, and what I'm seeing that few people actually see is that the concept of accelerating a startup is very, very different in the US compared to Europe. In the US, it makes sense because you've had an entrepreneurial, you live in an entrepreneurial society by default. You've probably had the fucking lemonade stand like 3 times in your life, which is something totally awkward for most Europeans.
One thing though to note, a lot of these guys in the a lot of these people in the accelerator programs in the Valley are not Americans. They didn't grow up there. Like very, very many of them, like probably most of them have at least 50% non-US citizens. So I don't think it's a great crutch you can continue to use in Spain.
No, I'm not talking about Spain. I'm not talking about the people that run accelerators. I'm talking about like the startups that get in and the mentors that you have and stuff like that. The thing is that in Europe, what I'm seeing is, even if they're wrong, because we've never had that kind of entrepreneurial culture, it gives something, it generates something. So accelerators, I think, there you go. I think the point is, accelerators in Europe do not accelerate. They essentially are beacons to attract people that think that entrepreneurship is something interesting. Now we live in like a trendy world where entrepreneurs is fantastic and everyone has to be an entrepreneur, which I don't agree at all. But anything that drives more people into that world, at least for me, is good. As John said, I think it's just a matter of like evolving in the same way that happens in the Valley. I think few people actually realize how many fucking failure and copycats you have in the Valley. It's a matter of scale. They have like they have success not because, as Paul said, they're smarter, but because they have a lot more shit going on. So this is a matter of what can we generate that creates more volume. And if accelerators is the key to kind of create beacons of people getting into this shit, I'm okay with that.
I think that because the game is.
So let's just quickly just finish up. I swear I'll be really quick. We are obsessing about Silicon Valley. We are obsessing about accelerators. And we are obsessing about other things. But the point being is actually Silicon Valley was built on tax dollars based on the defense industry. So what's the argument to say the EU shouldn't be diverting some of its funds in a similar fashion to help startup culture and actually create all of those things which is innovative and clever and smart?
We gotta start working more.
Yeah, but it's...
Stripped away millions and millions and millions of euros for startups and innovation.
Where? In France?
In Poland.
Poland. Seriously, millions.
I think in Poland around 1 billion euros. So, because the game is moving on, what is this for?
4-0.
Let's move to Q&A.
We're going to be bailout at the end.
I'm Mark Minakowski. I used to work for 13 years for Polish greatest, one of the greatest cloud companies on the.pl, and I used to be chief scientist sometimes, for them, and I was quiet and I had some money and I started my own business, and I have a problem, a mental problem with the startup culture. It's called cognitive dissonance, because a scene from Poland, reading TechCrunch and other blogs like this, the whole startup business is great, fantastic. People are innovating, are doing great things in a very extraordinary way. And on the other hand, as far as I can see, maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I can see, it's all about people preparing their own businesses either to be sold to big corporations, or maybe they are dreaming to become great corporations, the next Google, Facebook, Apple, or so. So actually, it's everything about either people dreaming of becoming a corporation or becoming a part of a corporation. And I have a business, and I would like to have a family business with me and my friends doing what we love for the rest of our lives, being sustainable, having our rent paid, and not selling it to any corporation. Because I used to work for a corporation, I'm fed up with it, and I don't need it. And I am looking for some environment for happy businesses who don't want to become a part of great corporations. Thank you.
I have a two-part answer to this. So on one hand, I completely respect what you're saying, because I think it's very honorable to say I want to have a business that's, let's call it a lifestyle business, right? I mean, that's what it is. Lifestyle businesses have a very negative connotation in the venture world, because it means it's just a sustainable business to give you a happy life, and I think that's fine. I'm the first person to say, you know what, that's great. If you can set up a business that generates enough revenue to keep you happy, to keep you sustained, to keep you working with your friends, doing whatever you want, all the power to you. Keep doing it, enjoy it, have a great life. We'll probably not cross paths. Seriously, because, but I have a second part to this. What I think is a problem, and I've had this happen to me over the last 12 years, is that I had people come to me who actually wanted a lifestyle business, but thought that they wanted to also raise venture capital, because they had a misconception that VCs are charities, and they said, hey, I have this happy business, but I want you to give me money so I can make it a happier business, which makes me happier, meaning I get more money in my pocket, which is also smart as an entrepreneur, but that's not what venture capital is about. So I think your comment, right, you're saying you want to have that type of a business, that's fine. You can have it, you should have it if you choose to do that, and it's absolutely an option that you can take, but there's absolutely nothing combined with venture capital there. It's a completely different world. Right?
I have a very quick comment. I have a very quick comment on this. If you're in tech, and especially if you're in the consumer space and sometimes B2B, the real reality is it takes a lot of customers to make money. Like, the revenue models on the web are such that it takes scale to really make profitability possible and to really make a lot of money. And a lot of money could even be a few $100,000 for your family to live. So I think that's more the concern. It's actually not the ability to be purchased or bought for yourself, like in having what we call a lifestyle business. It's really that what most people push for in tech is the ability to scale so that you can create revenue. It's just how the business models work primarily on the web.
There's actually a really weird medium ground. It's called, if you actually have a business that has customers that really want your product, you don't actually need venture capital, but you can scale really hard and really quickly. And actually, the founder of Springboard actually founded Springboard because he wanted to help entrepreneurs, but he actually had a business that created so much cash he didn't know what to do with it. Because he didn't have to report to any third party, and it will continue to make a lot of money for him for the next 20 years of his life. He doesn't have to sell it, it just creates money.
Sounds like a great commercial, John.
Sit on your couch and make $100,000.
No, I think I remember once, the only time I've seen Paul Graham live. He was giving a talk in London, and
Paul Graham again.
Yeah, no. I'll tell you why. He actually really sucks while talking live. But no, it is. But,
Extremes over there.
no, but he said something that. Shut the fuck up! I'm talking now. So he actually said something that really struck me. He said, few people understand what a startup is. A startup the name startup qualifies for a company that you're gonna sell. Okay? That's what a startup is. Google is a fucking failed startup. They tried to sell the shit out of it to Alta Vista, to Yahoo, and they couldn't. Okay? I would love to have that kind of faith. Okay? Don't get me wrong. But the thing is, if you don't want to sell your business, then you're not a startup and you're not looking for venture capital, you're not looking to play this game, and it's fantastic. You know, grow your business, live out of that. You were asking, where can I find other people like me? You know, talk to your local bakery. I know it sounds like fucked up, but the thing is that don't try and talk to startups, because the business part of it, how do you think about your startup in terms of how do you grow your team? How do you grow your business? What strategy you do? It's very different when you're thinking about selling this stuff in 5 years than when you think, I'm going to grow this for on a 20-year business. It's very different, very, very different. So I mean, I feel your pain. Yes, I think you're looking in the wrong place.
I don't know if we have any more questions.
2-0.
What's this called?
Come on, another
I
question.
think we can move the discussion to the bar. And
Hey, by the way, before
you but the guys are wrong.
just one thing. There's Poland versus Russian, right? Okay. During the break, the 15 minutes break, I will have to record a video from you guys. So I hope you drink way lots and lots of shots and beer, because I want to be really reactive. So please start drinking. That's actually what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something for their Mickler, but when you're gonna be drunk, not now.
Just for the record, Natasha is for Germany, so you are safe to keeping your fingers crossed for Poland. Okay, so thank you. I think that all panelists will be here near the bar, answering the questions in face-to-face discussions. And we are going to screen the movie about the people addicted to the World of Warcraft. So if I could get the help of the assistants. Ben, can I have you on stage? Entrepreneurs to the bar, artists and gamers to the room.